for the
Good evening, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining me live. Yes, it's been a while. Hello, hello, hello. I am your purpose pusher, Andrea Purry. We are live. Yes, if you're watching this and you see us and you see the little red dot at the top, yes, we are live. It's been so long since I have went live on this type of platform, but guess what? We are at that time again. We are getting ready for the whole Women's Wellness Conference. And if you have been there for the last 5 years, you know that we do some amazing, amazing things. We have amazing giveaways, we have amazing speakers. And one of my favorite neighborhood therapists has decided to join me for a couple broadcasts. And I'm going to try to get some of our other speakers on, but I'm so excited to have her on with us on tonight. And what we'll be talking about is how to embrace vulnerability without feeling exposed. And I want us to really look at what vulnerability is. Like, what does it mean to be vulnerable? And we have talked about this before. So now we're going into like the next step, because we've talked about what it means to be vulnerable, but now we're going into how do I do vulnerability, embrace it, and don't feel like I'm exposed. Don't feel like, I'm naked. But super excited to introduce her on tonight. Please, if you can, share, tag, let somebody know that we're live. I know this is like a pop-up live. Y'all like, where'd she come from? How? But yes, please share, tag, like, and invite. And as I bring her to the stage, I want you to put your virtual hands together for my sis, your neighborhood therapist, Jessica Renee. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're welcome. Always a pleasure.
Super excited. Super excited to have you. Do you want to kind of give them a brief update since the last time we talked to you? Like, how's life been? What have you been doing? Where you been? Where you been going? Just give us a brief update.
Yeah, sure. So life in the last, we'll say 8 months has been good. There's been ups and downs as life always brings. I was in a car accident in October, but I don't talk about it much, and it's not because I'm not like scared to tell anybody or anything like that, but it's because sometimes when big things happen like that, one, I had to process it. That one was a hard one because I struggle with not being able to remember, and that was hard for me, not being able to put the whole incident together. And so I struggled with that, but I was also grateful because I was hit driver's side, T-boned, like, and if it was a few more inches to, let's say to the right, if you're looking this way to the right, it would hit me directly in my door. And I walked away, right? Yes, I had some fogginess. I had a slight concussion and all that, but I walked away. And everybody's not able to do that. So, that happened. And then God blessed me with a 2025 car. Okay. That's my first time ever getting a brand new car. So that was a blessing. I got my full license. In the midst of that, I was studying to get my full license, my LPCC. I didn't pass the first time. I was distraught, but I have a don't quit attitude. And so I got back in there. I buckled down. I knew I wasn't studying right the first time. Okay. See, preparation is key. But I buckled down. I got it. And God's been opening doors with that. And so, I'm preparing for my daughter's last year of school. Looking at, we've been going visiting schools, and so getting her to get an idea of where she wants to go. So that's been a transition as well, just in parenting and knowing I'll be an empty nester. So that's kind of where life has been recently.
Wow. Listen, you done gave us a real update. Come on, update. I love it, sis. Oh my gosh. God has been doing some amazing things. Despite the accident, it's like it was glory after that. Despite the things that you went through, there was glory after that. Despite, okay, I may not have got it on the first try, but I got it on the second try, and I was able to come out with my license. Congratulations. So excited to really, really just congratulate you on this beautiful, beautiful thing. Like, one thing that I love about you is that you're always doing like something towards your career, and you're excelling every time I talk to you.
Thank you.
There is something that you're doing that is, pushing you forward. And it's very, very motivating. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And I feel like you have even become a little vulnerable with us in the beginning, because like you sharing something that you haven't really shared a lot on social media. So I love that. And I think it brings us right into our topic, because it was literally, I know when we first discussed vulnerability, the first time me and you discussed it, you was like, "Ooh, I don't know."
You're most definitely.
You was like, do you want me to talk about it?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yes, I want you." And from that day to this one, I can see how you have embraced it. And you have literally I feel like you've just settled into it, and you look comfortable. Tell me how you feel. How has vulnerability shown up in this new season for you, and how do you feel being vulnerable?
Well, I mean, it's still scary. When, like you said, when you first asked me to do it, I prayed hard about it, because I know that I'm not always the openest person. Like, it's not that don't want to be open, but I'm one of those people, unless you ask me, I'm just probably not going to tell you. Like, and I'm still kind of that way, right? I haven't got out of that habit. But I mean, I had to, this part of my self-awareness, I had to come to realize that if I want better relationships, vulnerability was the key to that.
That's good.
And so,
That's good.
because that's how you have community, because it's people that are coming together with a common bond, with of wanting to embrace each other. But you can't be embraced if you don't want to tell anybody about yourself.
Right.
And so, the fear of vulnerability is, and by Webster's dictionary, vulnerability is not a safe word, right? It's meant to be an open, access to be hurt and all that other stuff. But when you look at it through the context of the Bible, it's a act of you kind of surrendering for God to give you the strength to move through that. And so relationships, the strength in a relationship is vulnerability. So to have good relationships, you have to be vulnerable so you can strengthen your relationships.
That's true. So what I hear you saying is you've embraced it because you wanted to be healthier. Like, you knew that the next step of you going further in your relationships, you growing further in your relationship with God as well, was
Yeah.
for you to become vulnerable. I
Mhm.
love that. I love that. I love that. I love that. So, why do so many women, especially Black women, struggle with vulnerability? Can you tell me?
Well, and I can just only give my perspective. I think it's because we just don't trust.
Mm,
History has taught us not to trust,
mm,
right? Or to be skeptical.
mm,
Because, and I think that's part of my basis of what, why you need to know, like what you
mm.
gonna do with what I tell you,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
and again, like I said, unless you ask me, I'm probably not gonna tell you. You know what I'm saying? Like, or unless it calls for a situation for me to have to tell you. But I think really on our front, it's we've been conditioned to, as a community, to not be trusting, um,
Mm,
to question
mm,
any acts of closeness
mm,
aren't aren't from either family, a close friend, or or
mm,
somebody that you feel like is an outsider. Like, you
mm,
haven't been here, so why you need to know?
mm.
Like, or that's going to hinder the family,
Yeah.
um, if somebody tells something. So, um, because growing up, and culturally in Black households, it's
What
like,
happens in this household stays in this household.
right, right. What I tell you about going over there and telling them folks that,
Right.
so it's like a fear base too,
It is. It is.
So yeah, and then just as Black women, although we have no reason to be against each other, but in this day and age, it's kind of like we've gotten to this point where we don't celebrate each other, or we don't. It's I was reading something, and it was saying that Black women are uh the kind of the most disconnected and loneliest, even with each other, because we have not learned how to embrace one another in the sense of we're competing,
Mm.
you know and so it's kind of like, if I'm, can I really trust you to be happy for me if I get the promotion and you're still not making the amount of money you want to make? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm,
Like,
mhm.
you know and so, I think it's a cumulative thing. Culmin- Culminative, I can't get the word out, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah.
Culminative thing.
It's a lot of things combined.
Yeah.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly. Like, even thinking about some of my friendship circles and thinking about like where some of the people get their ideology from and where they get kind of like their mindset from
Mhm.
around vulnerability. And people have told them, you need to make sure you um don't talk too much, don't tell people too much.
Mhm.
Um, but I think learning now that vulnerability can be healthy
Mhm.
and not hurtful.
Right.
I think those things, the more we talk about it, the more we get to the place where we are more comfortable with
Mhm.
creating safe places, with having spaces where Black women, Black men, everybody can feel comfortable.
Right.
We'll embrace vulnerability in a healthy way, because
Right.
I do feel like there's an unhealthy way too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Like vulnerability, but with boundaries, right?
Right.
Because I don't think you should tell everybody everything. Like, and I
And
don't think
some
that.
people,
Right, right. There are some things that you need to keep to yourself. Like, there are some things that just, like, even in your bestie, like your bestie, I mean, like, there's some things you just need. That's for you, right? And so I just had a really hard time with Twitter when it came out, because I'm just like, y'all just like telling unnecessary information. Like, people don't need to know that, you know, and then get mad when somebody come talking about it. I'm like, you the one who told it.
right, right, right. But it's something else that you said that I wanted to kind of highlight before I go into my next question. You said the Bible's way of vulnerability
Mhm.
is not like Webster's definition.
Hmm.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that and just give like a little bit more to how that's shown in the Bible? And
Yeah. Now, again, so I'm gonna be vulnerable, right? Because right before we came on here, I was like, you know what? Like, what is the breakdown of vulnerability? So I googled it, and then I asked, I said, well, what? Because it said being open to attack, being open to emotional, physical pain and stuff like that. And I was like, well, what does the Bible say about it? And it says that vulnerability is often understood as a weakness to be hidden, but as a path to spiritual strength and deeper connection with God and others. The concept is explored through various examples and insights. So it's saying that vulnerability as exposure and resilience, right? So again, um, we're looking at vulnerability through how God wants us to use it. He
mm-hmm,
wants us to be vulnerable so that we can be strengthened.
mm-hmm,
He wants us to use it, so like it says here, to be resilient. Um,
mm-hmm,
Vulnerable is derived from the Latin roots meaning wound or to wound, and it suggests that you're open to attack. However, in a spiritual sense, this can signify dependence upon God and our need for His intervention. So again, like the Bible says everything works together for our good. So, and God didn't tell us that we wouldn't be open to, we would not be just walking the earth with a great life all the time. It says that we would be open to attack, but with us being vulnerable with Him, and that looks like just telling Him like, hey, I'm struggling with this and I'm not strong enough to handle it. Like, then He steps in and gives us that strength so that we can be resilient through. That's why I say, with my wreck, you know, I still had to remember that God was still working it out, right? I
that's
could be
right.
mad, I could be offended, I could be like, dang,
That's
I
right.
lost my car,
Mm-hmm,
and all this other stuff. But I was like, but you know what? I'm still, the biggest thing is I'm still walking, I'm still breathing, I can still take care of things. And
that's
so
right.
things still worked out. But I let them know that I was upset. I was frustrated. I was
Mm-hmm,
sad because I couldn't remember what happened, and that made me really unhappy. Like made me not
mm-hmm,
unhappy, but that made me worried because I'm like, I can't remember. You
right.
know, so but through those things, it's just that um He wants to strengthen us in our time of need.
Yeah.
So in relationship wise, when you're being vulnerable with your friends, with your spouse, with whoever, it's because you're looking to them to help strengthen you in that
Mm-hmm,
time of need. And so
mm-hmm,
that vulnerability is me sharing with you like, I'm feeling this way, but I need your support.
mm-hmm.
So I need you to be another pillar that I can lean on right now.
I love that. I'm vulnerable because I need you to be another pillar that I can lean on now.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I think this scripture kind of sums it up really good. Jeremiah 17:7. It says, "But blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in Him." And I have a little affirmation before that. And it says, "I will trust in the Lord."
Hmm.
And for me, like, in order for me to be vulnerable with other people, first I gotta be vulnerable with God.
Hmm.
Like, I gotta let Him know, like, this how I'm feeling. Like when she was saying she had an accident and she was like, I was a little unhappy. Yes, that's God. I'm unhappy. I'm
Yeah.
I'm I, I'm mad. I'm frustrated.
Hmm.
Like, I'm giving God my raw feelings, and I'm letting Him know like how I feel. But I'm not giving Him my raw feelings and thinking that He's not going to do anything with it. I'm giving it to Him because I know He's going to make me stronger. He's going to strengthen me. Just like she said, He's going to be that pillar that I can lean on.
Hmm.
And then when you have those people in your life that are safe, that are people who, you can really rely on, it shows up so different. It shows up differently in the way you do relationships.
Yeah.
And you can see that, okay, I'm becoming more better because I'm showing up and I'm vulnerable with the person who I choose to be vulnerable with, and the person who I trust, and
Right.
the person
Yeah.
who I and listen. Even in some moments, I'm like, okay, let me go to God first and ask him: is this a person that I need to be vulnerable with? Is this a person who I need to allow to have this? Is this a person who can handle
Yeah.
my vulnerability
Hmm.
before I become vulnerable?
Right. Yeah. And all those things are definitely true because you gotta you still have to do the vetting process of people, right? And that's where you got to be kind of discern who who can really be some strength.
Yeah. As we come to a close, I do want to ask you this last question. What are some practical ways that you can test out being vulnerable? Like, okay, like I might not be ready yet, and I don't know if I could do it, but what practically can we do? Like, if somebody is just showing up and they're getting ready to become vulnerable, and how can they practically show up and be like, okay, let me just give a little bit?
Um well, let's see. I think start sometimes if you're a writer, I think always starting with writing sometimes can help. I'm not a writer, so but I know some people are. I think sometimes just kind of getting it out what you want to say, and maybe you even have to rehearse it, right? Because
Yeah,
that may make you feel like, okay, I don't want to go in there just all willy nilly. This is what I want to say, but I'm
right,
gonna have to rehearse what I'm going to say so it just kind of I can get it out, kind of thing.
right.
um, but I think starting with the people that you trust the most,
Yeah.
right? Um, and starting with the thing that feels the smallest for you. It
Mm,
even be something that you've grown out of, but then you're like, well, I can start with that because I'm grown past that. Um,
right.
but I think that to me is the safest. It's starting with the space or the person who you feel the most comfortable with. And or even somebody you don't even know, right?
Mm,
Like, but don't again, you gotta discern what you say. Like, if you're going to walk up with somebody on the street, don't give them nothing heavy. Just be like, I stole candy bar when I was 5. Like kind of like, and then just walk on. But like I think starting in one of those two spaces because that's going to some people are just like, I'd rather just leave it with somebody who like I'm never gonna see again. But really, is that vulnerability then if we just kind of give it to somebody who we're never gonna see again? Because it's kind of like, okay,
Well, I think it can be a level of vulnerability because, like I said, we're just putting our pinky toe in. So I
yeah,
think it can be a level of vulnerability. It may not be full vulnerability, but I think I feel like it's a level. Like you're getting to that place, and I do feel like as we get to the place, like if you're not ready, um, don't do it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, you know, and I have two things with that too. Like sometimes you gotta have to be comfortable. Again, for me, it was like I had to grow. I knew
Yeah,
I had gotten to that level of awareness that something had to change. I'm
yeah.
gonna have to grow. And so, you at that point, you just kind of have to jump in and be uncomfortable. And that's the only
Mm,
way to grow is just to be uncomfortable. So, yes, dip your toe in if you're not ready. Like if it's gonna cause you some undue harm or mental um stress, then I would say, okay, yes.
yeah.
You need to work first off, you need to work on your mental fortitude, right? And
Mm,
getting stronger mentally. Because you don't know the risk that you're taking of being vulnerable is you don't know the other person's reaction to what you're going to tell them.
right,
You know, and you cannot that is not your place to dictate that. Like you can't dictate their response.
right.
You can only say, okay, I'm okay. Like I understand why, or like, okay, I had to put a boundary up here, like, whatever. But yeah, I think the smallest place is starting with somebody who you already trust and you feel comfortable with.
Okay, I like that. So again, I just want to say thank you so much for this conversation, and we're gonna do these quick chats, and you'll be seeing the lives pop up. So if you see them, share them, let people know that we're live. And if they're not able to watch, they can always watch the replay on YouTube. And my YouTube is Real Talk We Talk with Andrea 3738. Real Talk We Talk with Andrea PU 3738. And I'll put it in the comments here on Facebook. And if you're watching on YouTube, you already know what it is. Jessica, is there something that you would like to share, like anything you have coming up, or just share your platforms that you're doing anything on, or what you have coming up?
You can follow me at Jessica Renee on Facebook. I do make posts from time to time. I've got to get better with that, about just kind of therapy stuff. If you're interested, look for it on there. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's just more kind of my personal page. It's Love Conquers Nations at Gmail. I'm sorry, Love Conquers Nations on Instagram. But as far as what I got coming up, you can find me at the Whole Women's Wellness Conference. Okay. And yeah, stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Whole Women's Wellness Conference and Eventbrite. All you have to do is type in Whole Women's Wellness Conference. It's August 23rd through the 25th. It's a free virtual event. Somebody put in the comments, free virtual event, August 23rd through the 25th. And you do have to register for each day in Eventbrite. And the reason why we want you to do that is just so we can put you in drawings. So each day we want to put different people in drawing who's going to be there. And if you can't make each day, that's fine. But if you can, we would love to have you. Thank you so much for joining this live. We will see you the next time we're live. Bye-bye.
Bye.